Morning, Pauline. Neil Francois, morning, sir. Diane, Charles, morning, Nicole, morning. Mira Rampersad, morning. Good morning to His Excellency, President of Pleasantville, Nigel O'Connor, and First Lady Mauricia. Alison Boyce, morning. Phyllis Antoine, good morning to you. Maynard Lazare, morning. Morning, Dish. Margaret James, morning. Rosemary Headley, morning, Rosemary. Arlene Lewis, Lystra Sydney, morning to you guys. Annie Frederick, morning. Morning, Carol. Carol Myers, Darrell Nanton, good morning, sir. Margaret Thomas, morning. Lucy Brown, morning to you. Adriana Alexis, morning. Maria Lyons, morning. D here, morning. Right, so I know a lot of people that may have missed the message that I would have sent out on Tuesday, indicating that yesterday's live was postponed to today. But I'm just jumping on for a quick minute this morning because I have to take my car to service, and you know these car dealerships, when you reach late, there's another 6 months you have to wait for an appointment, and if you take your car outside to service or crap or smoke your pipe with your warranty, yeah, as if you're not paying them your money. Ashton Jack, morning. Morning, Joy. Yeah, and I don't want to take away too much from Sharon's program. So, just see here. This thing. Morning, Alison. Alison Samuel, morning to you. Alicia Alman, Tiroshi, morning. Ian Glauden, morning, sir. Right. Morning, Jen. Cheppy, 65, morning. Deborah Duranti, morning, Deborah. Angela, Marcel, Figaro, morning. Right, so I just wanted to touch quickly on just a couple things, really, because I'll still do tomorrow morning's live, so we'll be a little more in depth with that one. But as promised, for yesterday's live, I just want to touch quickly on a couple things. So I got a call yesterday, day before, informing me that I am now persona non grata on 91.9. So apparently the management doesn't want me calling back their station. But first of all, I don't call radio stations, right? For those of you who know me, who've been listening to various radio stations over the years, I don't call. Even when I was on that station, I never used to call other people's station to say anything, because that's just not me. I never felt the need to encroach on other people's programs. So if there was an opinion that I wish to express, I would just do it on my own show. And even when I was off the radio, I wasn't one to call. So last week I was invited to call in because I was heading down to Port of Spain early, and I was listening to Titans of Democracy, and I heard someone call in, and he was talking about the minimum wage, and he said something that was incorrect, and so I would have sent a WhatsApp message correcting what the caller said, and so I was invited to call in, clear up the misconception, and say a few words on the budget, because you all know when I was there, it was a practice of mine to discuss the budget, dissect the budget on my program, right? So not that I was inclined to do it this time, but I was invited, and so I did. So apparently management was listening, as they do all the time, listening to what is being said so that they could censor, censor what is being said. But anyway, so I get a call, and I'm told management said I am no longer welcome to call in the radio station unless I apologize to the owner because of the interview that I did with Darian Marcel. You already called Darian. And again, as I said, I don't call radio stations. Darian called me a few weeks ago to interview me with respect to the circumstances that led to my departure from 91.9. And I think someone would have sent a clip of the interview to management. Yeah. And so management says, unless I apologize, I'm no longer welcome to call the station. Well, two things. One, as I said, I don't call radio stations. Well, make it three. Two, I hardly even listen to that radio station anymore, because even except for Titans of Democracy and Juliet and Mr. Aruka, there is nothing else of substance really on that radio station to listen to, unless it is that you're trying to commit suicide and you're looking for a reason to either stab yourself in the eye with a pencil, or you're trying to give yourself a stroke. I see no other reason why you would listen to any of the other programming on that station. And I am not yet ready to meet my maker, right? But I would say to management, add that apology to the list of things that you will never get, right up there with the 3 water taxis. So number 2 on the list, so number 1 on the list of things you'll never get, the 3 water taxis, and number 2, an apology from me. That ain't happening. I think you realize what you would have lost, because so far I've not really heard anybody go in depth or really speak to the budget on the station, per se, with a dispassionate view to really explain to the people what, I'm seeing Alicia saying, imagine wallpaper on a Sunday. Some people, I don't know if it is that the owners of that station, if they're in self-destruct mode, but it's like they continue to search out people who, simply frustrate the traditional listenership of that station, the listenership that built that radio station. You're bringing people to aggravate, and frustrate. And again, so yesterday, someone sent me a WhatsApp message, a message asking me if I was listening to that evening program and the misinformation, the typical normal misinformation that is shared by one of the hosts there. Professor Misinformation. He's there every day to educate and inform. Anyway, so I decided to take a listen. I wasn't listening before. And he was going on about Petrotrin and how freedom of information request and all of that, and Petrotrin was never a burden on the state and all of this thing. And I had to comment And again, even that I don't like to do either. But it's like, as I told them, it's a case of the misinformed leading the clueless. I told them that in the chat. So the majority of people in the chat, of course, are as the clueless. And I don't know if they were happy to see my name pop up. So all of them decided to jump on my case. One of them telling me, hey, thanks for building their life. I said, yeah, you're welcome. I mean, this host or these hosts could barely hold 90 people. They could barely hold the attention of 90 people in the afternoon. And you went from a program that used to garner some 5, 6, 700 viewers on Facebook and on almost equal amount on YouTube. And it doesn't occur to you, the numbers have fallen significantly, and try the best. These two individuals simply cannot attract. So it tells you that all of the people, the majority of the people who used to listen, the traditional listeners, are not interested in what it is you have to offer. So they'll go across the I-95 and listen to Darian or John Gill. But they know it's nonsense. And if it is management of that station continues to listen to these men in the evening, and you felt it made sense to move them from one day on a Saturday to 5 days a week for 3 hours, talking the most nonsense, I have to wonder what really going on with management. Is it that you're deliberately trying to sabotage your station, or is it that you are just as clueless as these men? That you must know, even if you have a modicum of common sense, must know that the things that these men are talking about is absolute rubbish. And if you don't know, well, I don't know how you're in business so long. But it'll probably explain why it is the station. Anyway, why the station is where it is. Margaret is saying, imagine I have to listen to Fall Street and them too. Yeah. Who really want to listen to that? And what she talking about? Balance? Balance, really? Wall Street and balance in this? Anyway, the only balance you probably know about is the negative balance in his bank account. But anyway, that's not my business. Yeah. So I just thought I would throw that in the mix, right? Unfortunately, I don't know why people continue to engage them. So I listened yesterday for a short while. And as I said, he was there by himself, Professor Misinformation, and talking about there's some freedom of information request. So apparently, is it Gary Aboud, the chairman or the president or whatever, Fishermen and Friends of the Sea, continues his crusade of misinformation. So he too has joined the bandwagon of propagandists attacking the government for whatever reason. I don't know what it is he wants. His brother is less subtle. His brother is not a propagandist, but he's been very critical within recent times of the government. But anyway, that's our discussion for another time. So apparently, Mr. Aboud, Gary Aboud, filed some freedom of information request with respect to Petrotrin to find out what profits Petrotrin was making in 20. And everybody only focusing from 2015 to 2020. Nobody's going back 2010 to 2015 to discuss, well, okay, what was happening with Petrotrin then in terms of production, the country's oil production levels, what was it to show the decline over the course of the 5 years that the People's Partnership was there. They're not interested in going back to that period. Right? Everybody focusing. Karen Eunice-Shera criticizing the budget, mentioned when she was on that program last week, she went back to 2015. Yeah? So the first budget of remember 2015, come forward. She's not interested in any budget between 2010 and 2015. And of course, 2010 and prior, 2007, she would have been the Minister of Finance. So she's well aware of what the budget would have had. So she's only critical of the Rowley administration budgets. Nothing positive to say about that. But anyway, so I was trying to pull up the video clip with Mr. Aboud because it was shared in 2 group chats that I'm in, but I'm seeing that it was removed. So I don't know if it is the position taken was that we would not promote Mr. Aboud and his nonsense. It's probably somewhere out there in cyberspace on social media. I'm sure if I pull up his Facebook page, but I'm really not interested. I don't have the time this morning. But basically what I was getting from it is that he is saying that Petrotrin was never a burden to the state. The government never had to give Petrotrin any subvention, and he talked about 2017 and 2018 and all of that. And apparently his submissions would have incensed the Minister of Energy, Stuart Young, So much so that Mr. Young had to go to great pains during his budget presentation when he should have been sharing with the country granular details of what the government is doing in respect of the energy industry, and the efforts that are being made to improve the country's economic fortunes, at least from the energy sector. He had now to spend some of his time, his 45 plus 10 minutes, focusing on Petrotrin and talking about Petrotrin ad nauseum. One would have thought that by now we would have heard enough about Petrotrin. But there seems to be a significant cohort of persons in society who, no matter what the Prime Minister says, no matter what the Minister of Energy says, no matter what the energy experts say, continue to push this narrative that the government shut down Petrotrin to protect AV drilling. And that, but I mean, apparently the waterfront ilk is much larger than we thought it was. Because the information is there. Even I spoke about Petrotrin since 2018. Come forward. One needs only to go and do your research and you will see. But when you're suffering from cognitive dissonance and you want to hold on to a particular belief, because that belief gives you some level of comfort, because to do otherwise means that you have to accept that what the government would have done in restructuring Petrotrin may have been the best option. But anyway, I digress, right? So Professor Misinformation decided, well, I don't know if he played Gary Aboud or whatever, probably did. But anyway. So I was doing some research, right? And I'm just going to read a little bit from again, that statement from Kevin Ramnarine in 2014, the oil and gas interview that was done with an article that Curtis Williams wrote, in which an interview was done with Khaled Hassan Ali, who was then the president of Petrotrin, appointed by the People's Partnership, of course. Let me get this here. Right. I mean, I too am wary of this whole Petrotrin thing, because no matter how you try to explain it to them, they keep talking about, they keep talking about if it was in your fridge and you didn't hear, we are not closing down Petrotrin. They don't understand the difference between restructure and close down, right? Because for most people, and it's just like with NIB, when most people hear NIB, NIS, the only thing they think about is pension. So apparently NIB does nothing else other than dispense pension. NIB has 23 benefits, 23 different benefits. The average citizen probably can't even name 5. But NIB, yeah, pension, that's all they know. Pension and the 7,500 funeral grant when someone dies who would have been entitled to such. But the others, they can't tell you. So it's just like with Petrotrin. You get the impression the only thing Petrotrin used to do is to refine oil. There were no other aspects of Petrotrin. So exploration and production, which is now heritage, that didn't exist before. Yeah? But they shut down Petrotrin. So the terminaling and so on and what Paria is doing, apparently Petrotrin never used to do those things either. Petrotrin was just the refinery and the refinery alone. So when the refinery closed down, that meant Petrotrin shut down too. Yeah. Anyway. Let me just play Stuart Young for you all, right? Quickly. Let me just get this. Just a short clip of some of the things that he would have said during his presentation. And I hope you all are looking on at the budget debate. Donna Cox made some significant revelations yesterday with respect to some alleged wrongdoings that was taking place in the Ministry of Social Development between 2010 to 2015, where she pointed out that she would have found some reloadable cards in her office, in a cupboard in her office, where you could have loaded up to as much as $30,000 a day on these cards. And she made the point, I think it was 2,300 or 2,800 cards were found, and none of these cards had been given to any PNM member of parliament between 2010 to 2015. In fact, this is the first that they've learned about these cards. So all of the creative ways that they were coming up with to thief. So you could give someone a card under the ministry, claiming that is for food support or whatever it is. And these cards could be loaded up with as much as $30,000 every day. All right? How come none was given to any of the PNM MPs? There were only 12 PNM MPs, elected MPs between 2012 and between 2010 to 2015. None of them got any of those cards. So what was found? They found 2,800 or so in the office. How many of those cards were given out? How many persons are in possession of those cards today? Right? Were those just the excess? And how come we didn't know about those cards? What was the program that was developed to distribute these cards? How come nobody knows? But they always like to accuse this PNM government of doing things and people doesn't know about it and all of that. I wonder if any of these people who the two today love to go and file Freedom of Information requests, if any of them will run to file a Freedom of Information request to find out about those cards and get the intricate details as to how many cards were distributed, how much money was paid out. Yeah, but they're interested, eh? They want to know about corruption. They want to know about corruption, but they're not interested in those things. So we don't get no freedom. You wouldn't hear on that program talk about that. And Minister Cox had to also mention that Vandana Mohit, the current member of Parliament for Shogunas East, was employed at the ministry at that time. I wonder who gave her that job. And what was the qualification? Was that another Reshmi? So Ms. Mohit decides to come during her turn because she spoke right after Donna Cox and steps out to tell Donna Cox, don't you ever try to dirty my name. Well, I want to tell Vandana, that ship sailed a long time, Miss Lady. As to use well, I don't know if it's a local parlance, so I think it's Jamaica. But your name Stinker Road, long time, and the PNM had nothing to do with that, right? You dirty your name long time. It's not only your name, your reputation as well is right up there, madam. And had nothing to do with anything the PNM did. You seem to forget about some photographs that were all over the place. Who do that? The PNM, that was Photoshop? The PNM drug you and took those pictures? I wonder. Okay, so when you want to come and tell Donna, don't you ever try to dirty my name. You can't try to dirty something that's already dirty. I don't think it's possible to dirty your name anymore than it already is. Yeah? I'm sure your name probably have a guest room in the trash can of Oscar the Grouch. Right there. That's where it belongs. Probably in the lab somewhere. Have a special corner for your name and your reputation. So Mr. Sweda BS now, let's start antics and semantics and drama thing about. Please, look. But anyway, we will talk about that tomorrow. Yeah, we will listen to Donna and hear the kind of money. And you know what amazes me? Is that here we are, 8 years. 8 years after these people left office. 8 years. And we still learning today, 8 years later, of the crookery that they were involved in and that they engaged in from 2010 to 2015. The crookery. New things coming to light 8 years later. That's what I tell earlier. 10, 20 years from now, we will still be hearing new things that happened between 2010 to 2015 that is yet to be unearthed. And that is why they're so desperate to come back into office, so that the things that we don't yet know and that is yet to be unearthed, if it is that they could whitewash it, get rid of it, any evidence of it before it comes to light, that is what they want to do. And I verily believe there are a lot of other things that is yet to come to light that could result in plenty of them, well, facing charges. I won't say make a jail, because in this country it's difficult for politicians to make a jail. Yeah? That at least face charges. We know it'll probably reach there. It could reach there. 8 years later, boy, we know hearing about these things. All of these things that they need to have a forensic audit of every single ministry from 2010 to 2015 for us to really see the kind of nonsense that these people were engaging in. I'm going to play this quickly, yeah, because as I said, time is of the essence this morning.
Talk briefly, madam, speak about Petrotrin. Because you see, there's a lot of false narrative taking place with respect to Petrotrin. In fact, just over the weekend, not surprisingly, a video starts to circulate with one of those persons who hold office for life in an entity that who knows what they do, based on a document talking about subventions from the Ministry of Finance. Completely out of context. First point, Petrotrin was not shut down. Petrotrin still exists today. Petrotrin is costing the people of Trinidad and Tobago today. And let the member for Point of Peer, who is one that likes to profess some knowledge, understand Petrotrin is costing the people of Trinidad and Tobago today in short-term loans taken out to purchase crude, $420 million US. That is the legacy of Petrotrin that continues to exist, but we restructured it. So there's TPHL, Trinidad Petroleum Holdings Limited, which is the holding company, which is the parent company of Petrotrin, Heritage, Guaracara, and Paria. Paria brings in fuel for Trinidad and Tobago and the region. Petrotrin continues to cost us $420 million US on short-term loans that when you roll it, because they can't pay it off, the interest rate continues to rise, and that money was utilized to buy crude. Let me briefly tell the people about the management of Petrotrin.
That money was used to buy crude, 425 million, right? To buy. So they took loans to buy oil. The 100,000 plus barrels of oil that they were purchasing every day while the refinery was running, right? The refinery that had a potential throughput of 180,000 barrels, that in 2014, Khaled Hassan Ali indicated, as I read for you just now, they had to cut by 30%, 33% down to 120,000 barrels to reduce costs in an attempt to keep the refinery from going out of business. And you see, it was unfortunate. People like Curtis Williams, who wrote that article, in spite of everything that has been said about Petrotrin between 2018 to now, right? And even 2016, 17, he wouldn't revisit that interview that he did with Khaled Hassan Ali, who was at the time president of Petrotrin, where he said that. But I would read it for you just now. But I just thought I would pause there for a minute. That they were taking loans to purchase oil, to refine, because local production is insufficient to meet the needs of the refinery, right? And I keep telling people, the majority of the oil that our daily production does not belong to the government. It belongs to the private companies, the BP and the Shell and the EOG and the Touchstone and all of these companies. When they find oil and they sell their oil, even when the refinery was up and running, their oil was not going to Petrotrin. It's the same thing that is happening now in Guyana, where you have ExxonMobil, which is one of the major oil producers there. When they find oil, they sell it. So even when refineries come on stream in Guyana, and it is noteworthy that the government of Guyana is not seeking to get into the refining business. The government of Guyana is not seeking to build any refinery. What they are looking for is private enterprise to come and build the refinery in Guyana. Yeah? Because they would have learned from the experience of Petrotrin, and they know that the challenges that a state-owned refinery can face. And so they have put out RFPs. Come, we're looking for a refinery that in the first instance could refine about 30,000 barrels of oil per day. Come, bring all your money. We will give you probably certain concessions and so on. But come to Guyana, bring your money, you build your refinery, that is you. It has nothing to do with the government. So when it is all you have any stress, nobody had to come and say the government and the government and the government. Private enterprise. Fundamental difference between Petrotrin and what they're doing, where Petrotrin was owned by the state. And I mentioned earlier with respect to the little bit of research that I did, right? The Jamnagar oil refinery in India, the largest oil refinery in the world, that refines over 1.2 million barrels of oil per day. You know how many employees they have? 2,500. 2,500. Refining 1.2 million barrels of oil per day. 2,500 employees. But Petrotrin, that was refining about 120,000 barrels a day from 2014 come forward. How many employees there? According to Kevin Ramnarayan, about 4,500 permanent and another 2,000 some on contract. So Petrotrin was refining 10% of the amount of oil that the largest oil refinery, the Jamnagar oil refinery in India, is refining. And Petrotrin had almost 3 times the amount of employees. Right? So that when they were talking about the wage cost to Petrotrin in terms of its profitability and so on, people like Roger and all of them, they don't like to talk about that, but we know Roger had to sing for his supper. Roger needed numbers to be able to fund his union. And when it is that the refinery was shut down and Petrotrin restructured, a significant number of the persons who contributed, who were paying dues to his union, were no longer paying dues to his union. Anybody knows what kind of vehicle Roger drives? Where Roger lives? What is Roger's monthly take home? So all of them, when they want to commiserate with the poor and people struggling and all kind of thing, Roger can't understand that. When was the last time Roger got a small paycheck? I know some years ago when we were on, I can't remember if it was, I think it was on the Sunshine Hour when Roger came to the, because we had interviewed him. I think it was in 2015, just prior to the election, and he came to 91.9. And at that time, he was driving a BMW 5 Series. Yeah. So I don't understand, and I'm pretty sure now. I don't think he's driving a Wetman or a Selfie. Yeah, I don't think he's driving an Aqua. Pretty sure, because you don't go from BMW to Aqua, do you? Even now that they probably bankrupt with that whole patriotic thing. But anyway, if his compatriot Leroy, but he's driving a Range Rover, thanks to Watson. But even if Watson, and what was Watson driving? When Watson first became the president of PSA, the first vehicle he bought was a BMW 5 Series. I think the license plate was PCP 83 or PCP 85 or something so. Right? A white BMW 5 Series. So as soon as he reached in office, whatever vehicle, I think Jennifer Baptiste Primus had a green Peugeot. And there was some other vehicle that she would have gotten that she was using before, right? That's the first vehicle he bought, and then he replaced that with the Mercedes, another I can't remember what it was, PD something, a black Mercedes. Remember one time I was driving around the Savannah, and as you take the bend by the hospital there, where the Ministry of Health headquarters is there now, Memorial Park. So I'm there, and I see this Mercedes pull up alongside me, all the windows down, music blasting loud, and the driver in a suit. And he hold on to the steering wheel so and he rock back. I said, well, who is that, bud? I said, well, clearly he wants to be noticed. Yeah? And then you see the poster, he rock back so, man. And I'm peeping. So I say, hey, it's Watson, bud. Yes. And then I remember he had the accident on Arapita Avenue. And rather than you seek immediate medical attention or whatever, the first thing Watson decided to do is to do a live. To show people, hey, look, I now get into an accident here, somebody hit my car, whoever it is. But you know, that was the end of the Mercedes. Yeah? Time to upgrade, to get a new car. And after that, what we got? The Range Rover. Yes. So them men don't drive no small car. Yeah? We know the salary tall. But it's always the government and how much Rowley. I am certain Watson Duke was, as PSA president, was making more money than Dr. Rowley. Pretty sure he was making more money than a government minister. So all of the perks and so on. But we don't ever talk about them and they're for the poor man. They're promoting for the poor man. But they live in poor? No. The prime minister and them, they need to cut their salary and so on so they can understand what the poor going through. But you drawing salary from people's dues, the very people they're supposed to be represented and offering mediocre representation. But every month dues coming out from people's salary to come to the bank account of the PSA. Right? You eating a food, drinking a juice and belching. You living it up. In one Woodbrook place. Yeah? $10,000 a month rent. How that paying for? And I think, well, now we living down Glencoe in some big house down in Glencoe. But how was that being paid for? Huh? Where Leroy living? I think Leroy living. Anyway, I don't disclose where the man living. Well, to hell with that. Because when they went by Coleman Butch house in Hillsborough to protest the last time with the casino workers. Yeah? Remember that canal? Yes, I think he living somewhere down in Ascot Gardens down in lower down from me there, the other side. Yeah. I was seeing the vehicle around that area. The hell with them. Shucks. For you could go and pick it and protest people's house. Yeah, we don't care. But anyway, let me continue with Stuart.
11, again, that period of 10 to 15, because they pretend that period didn't exist, but the people of Trinidad and Tobago remember it. And they decimated, they destroyed the energy sector. And that bothers, in particular, the member for Siparia who likes to repeat it because it is true. In 2011, Petrotrin made a net profit of $2.4 billion. In 2012, it dropped to $1 billion. So immediately you can see something wasn't going right to lose almost $1.5 billion of profit. 2013, the profit dropped to 15 million. 2013, Petrotrin's profit dropped to 15 million from 2.5 billion in 2011. That was management of Petrotrin. By 2014, we were now in a loss of $201 million. And that is for the people of Trinidad and Tobago. By 2015, the loss had turned to $1 billion. In 2016, almost $5 billion because US oil had dropped to US $25 a barrel. By 2018, the loss for the people of Trinidad and Tobago was $16 billion because the chickens had come home to roost. Because of the mismanagement, and it is irrefutable. Anyone can go and research this and see that in that period of 10 to 15, they drove Petrotrin into a loss-making entity that we still carry on the books today. We were faced with the auditors telling us that there was $4 billion in losses that they wanted to write off. Again, I was tasked and mandated, along with the then Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Finance, to meet with the auditors of Petrotrin to understand this. And the auditors told us, you have to write off over $4 billion in carried forward tax losses. I said, but that would make the company insolvent. Why are you doing this now if these losses were being carried since 2013, 2014? And that is one of the things we had to deal with. We also had to deal with two bonds coming due, 850 million US and 750 million US. So almost 12 billion TT dollars coming due in a company now that had these losses and was insolvent. So let those who like to talk about Petrotrin deal with these facts and these issues, because that was the reality of Petrotrin. But I'm happy to report, and it was not an easy decision. We had to consider every single worker, but it had outlived its use. We were no longer producing. I showed how in the UNC period they dropped the production of oil by almost 40,000 barrels of oil a day, but they pretend that didn't happen. So if you have to import oil to put into a refinery, it makes no sense. If the uplifting cost, which is the cost of taking the oil out of the ground, was costing more than the sale price you could get of the oil, how does that make sense? So we took the difficult decision. The taxpayers of Trinidad and Tobago paid the workers of Petrotrin, as hard as it was, $2.7 billion in cash to go home with, restructured it. And today, Heritage, which is the exploration and production company, as a result of the new management, as a result of new techniques, new tooling, etc., is declaring net profits in the billions. P&M style.
Let's see here. So that's just one of the videos that I know Minister Young wanted to have shared for those persons who may not be inclined to participate or partake of the budget debate, for one reason or another. But these short clips help, right? There are a couple others, but we'll probably pay that tomorrow or something. I just wanted to read again quickly, right? Professor Misinformation. Yeah, because his radar is set only to pick up propaganda. That is why last week Monday, while the budget was being read, you could come on your program and say that the price of gas, the price of fuel went up, and then had to come and apologize the next day and the day after. Yeah, because all you're looking for is propaganda alert, right? Hey, yes, nice. Let me run on the radio station and talk that talk. Let me run on the station and play that. But that's something good. Anything to jam the government? Yes. Because he realizes he has a constituency of persons who listen to that trash every day. But when you could barely even hold 87 people, it tells you something, huh? It tells you something. Right. Again, I have to read from this thing, and I fed up read from it. But anyway, time to build up, not break down. Petrotrin posted on the 4th of December 2014. Statement to the Parliament by Senator the Honorable Kevin Ramnarine, Minister of Energy and Energy Affairs. And he says, Mr. President, I rise to make a short statement on the financial position of Petrotrin in light of low refining margins over the past 2 years and the recent precipitous fall in oil prices and further shrinkage in refinery margin. This is Kevin Ramnarine. I'm quoting him here from his statement that is on Hansard. Petrotrin lost $346 million unaudited in fiscal 2014 and just broke even in fiscal 2013. This was due to losses by the refining arm of the company. Let me repeat that. This was due to losses by the refining arm of the refinery. So for those on the other side who don't understand the refining arm, it sounded refining, sounding familiar? Yes, refinery. Losses in the refinery. This is Kevin Ramnarine. This is not Stuart Young speaking here. This is not Franklin Kahn speaking here. This is not Keith Rowley speaking here. This is Kevin Ramnarine, the then Minister of Energy under the People's Partnership Government, speaking in the Parliament. He says the upstream side of the company remained profitable in 2014. Upstream, exploration and production. Drilling, fine oil, sell. All right? Losses in the refinery are principally due to the collapse in the gross refinery margin. The gross refinery margin is the difference between the cost of a barrel of crude and the value of the refined products that are derived from refining of that barrel of crude oil. So in other words, if we spend $100 to purchase a barrel of oil to refine, the refined products that we get from this one barrel of oil is probably $80. So we're losing money on every barrel of oil that we purchase. Now, when you go into business, you're going to business for profit. But if it is that we were to look at it at the most basic of levels, every barrel of oil that I purchase for 100 US, right, it come into the country. So that's the cost of the oil, the price. We didn't include all of the freight costs and all of the different costs involved to bring the oil to Trinidad. All right? But for every barrel of oil that I refine in Petrotrin, the end product that I sell, I am making less money than what I would have spent for this barrel of oil to produce this end product. But that, they tell you, is Petrotrin making profits. Kamlanomics. He goes on. The gross, right, so he talks about that. Gross margin, like oil price, is variable, is a variable market-related parameter over which we have no control. The fall in the gross refining margin at Petrotrin is a feature of a worldwide oversupply of refinery capacity, compounded by the shale oil revolution, which has seen American refiners benefit from cheaper crude oil and lower natural gas prices. We're saying a worldwide oversupply of refinery capacity. You know what that meant? It have too many oil refineries in the world. Too many. This is what Kevin Ramnarine was telling you in 2014, December of 2014. As it stands right now, at that point in time, we have an oversupply of capacity. Too many oil refineries in the world. That's what he was saying. And not enough oil to, right? The refining capacity has too many. He goes on. As a result, US refinery utilization rates in July 2014 peaked at 94%, the highest they have been since 2005. American refineries are therefore more competitive than their counterparts outside of the United States. These depressed margins have led to the closure of some 60 refineries worldwide over the last 5 years, with a further 11 refineries currently being contemplated for possible closure in other parts of the world. And every time I read this, I ask the question, why did Kevin Ramnarine or anybody, whoever was his assistant or whatnot, go and do research to find out how many refineries had closed in the previous 5 years and how many were being contemplated for closure at that point in time? What was the message that he was trying to send? Why did he feel it necessary to put that in his statement? Let me repeat it. These depressed margins have led to the closure of some 60 refineries worldwide over the last 5 years, with a further 11 currently being contemplated for possible closure in other parts of the world. In the Caribbean, 2 refineries have closed in recent years. In Europe, 13 refineries have closed in the last 5 years. This man gave you a whole paragraph telling you about how many refineries closed and which parts of the world and so on. That is not information that you're scrolling through Instagram or Facebook and it just pop up. You have to go and type in and look for it, do research to get that information. And he felt it necessary to put that information in his statement that is now recorded on Hansard for posterity. Why did he speak about that? Because he was putting the nation on notice. A, if it is obviously we shut down the refinery, understand that it is not anything unique to Trinidad and Tobago, but it is a phenomenon of the reality of the times. And look how many other refineries close. So don't cuss us, don't kill us if it is that we shut down Petrotrin, because it's happening all over the world. But when it is this administration talk and tell it thing happening all over the world, they want to hear that. But when Kevin Ramnarine read this, did they say to him, Kevin, we don't want to hear that. This is Trinidad. This is not the rest of the world. No. I continue. Petrotrin and indeed the country is not immune from this global scenario. That puts it into full perspective for me right here. Petrotrin and indeed the country is not immune from this global scenario. What global scenario? The closure of refineries around the world. So he's telling you Petrotrin is not immune from closure. In 2014, Kevin Ramnarine is telling you that. Putting you on notice. Petrotrin is not immune from what is happening all over the world that is resulting in all of these refinery closures. Go again. Petrotrin is also now facing the spectre of falling oil prices, which jeopardizes the profitability of its upstream business. Oil prices have plummeted by more than 30% since 2014 June and are currently at their lowest levels in 4 years. So he was telling you before, the refinery was losing money because of the margins, the gross margins, right? But at least Petrotrin was making some money from the upstream, which is exploration and production. When it comes down now to tell you, Petrotrin is now also facing the specter of falling oil prices, which jeopardizes the profitability of the upstream. So he's saying no, it is so bad. So it was not only the refinery losing money, but with the oil prices being what it is, now even the upstream, which has been carrying the company through the losses being incurred by the refinery, is also now in jeopardy. So if upstream losing money and downstream losing money, what is the outcome? Under Kamlanomics, supernormal profits. Lose money so, and the company makes billions in profits. All right. Goes on to say, as a consequence, the company has cut 340 million TT out of its operating budget for fiscal 2014-2015 compared to fiscal 2013-2014. Right? Even with this significant cut in operating expenses, the company will still incur another projected loss in 2014-2015 at current oil prices and refinery margins. Petrotrin's salaries and wage costs, inclusive of benefits and allowances, are 54.5% of its recurrent budget. This compares to the benchmark of 35 to 40% for national oil companies around the world. The major other challenge Petrotrin faces is the debt burden of the company, right? So he's telling you that for other oil companies around the world, salaries account for 35 to 40% of the recurrent expenditure. But for Petrotrin, according to Kevin Ramnarine, salaries accounted for 54.5% of recurrent expenditure. But what do you expect? Jamnagar Oil Refinery, largest in the world, 2,500 employees, refining 1.2 billion barrels of oil per day, 10 times more than what Petrotrin was doing. But Petrotrin had 3 times the amount of staff that the Jamnagar Oil Refinery had. Right. I think that speaks volumes. But anyway, let me move on quickly in the interest of time, because I said I had about all this. Oil and Gas Journal, July 16, 2014. Petrotrin blames US shale gas revolution for reduced refinery runs. Trinidad and Tobago's state-owned Petrotrin is blaming the shale gas revolution in the US and lower crude prices at Cushing, Oklahoma, for its decision to significantly reduce its refinery throughput to 120,000 barrels of oil per day, down from 180,000 barrels of oil. Trinidad and Tobago's state-owned, right. Petrotrin's president, Khalid Hassan Ali, told the Oil and Gas Journal that the decision was an attempt to limit the company's losses, not profits, limit the company's losses at its Point-a-Pierre refinery. Let me repeat that again. Petrotrin President Khaled Hassan Ali told the Oil and Gas Journal that the decision was an attempt to limit the company's losses at its Point-à-Paix refinery and to avoid going out of business like 2 other Caribbean refineries. Refineries in both Aruba and the US Virgin Islands have been shuttered as Caribbean refineries are facing higher prices for crude on the international market than many US refineries, which are benefiting from continued bottleneck at Cushing. While the 30% reduction in refinery throughput is hurting the company's bottom line, Hassan Ali insists that Petrotrin, an integrated company, is allowing its exploration and production arm to carry the ball for the time being. You know what he's saying there? The refinery are making money. The refinery imposing losses on the company. But thank God for the upstream. Same thing Kevin Ramnarine said. Exploration and production is really what carrying the company right now. Upstream. Drilling for oil we find, we sell it. Right. That is what carrying the company. But if it is that is affected, what do you think going to happen? Come back again to repeat. Petrotrin President Khaled Hassan Ali told Oil and Gas that the decision was an attempt to limit the company's losses at its Point-à-Paix refinery and to avoid going out of business like 2 other Caribbean refineries. So if it is you're not facing the specter, the possibility of going out of business, why are you engaging in activities to avoid going out of business? It makes no sense to me. Because when you sit down in the boardroom and you make this decision, well, here what? We need to cut throughput from 180,000 to 120. What are you doing that for? Well, if we don't do that, we might have to shut down the refinery. If we don't do that, we might have to shut down the company. That's what Khaled Hassan Ali is telling you here. It was an attempt. You know what an attempt means? Trying something. But I'm not sure what the outcome will be. But I'm still trying it. It's an attempt. You ever hear about attempted suicide? A man tried to kill himself, but it didn't work. Right? He failed. So he put a noose around his neck, right? Attempted to kill himself, attempted to commit suicide, but the rafters was weak. I sat a termite, the rafters break, and right. So he didn't get to kill himself. Yeah? Or he took some pills, but he didn't take enough. So it was an attempt. He wasn't successful. So in the same way here, Khaled is saying it was an attempt. We try nothing. It's not guaranteed. He didn't say we did this to avoid. He said we are attempting it to limit the losses. And we are attempting to avoid going out of business. That is mentioned here. So again, I stress, you will only take action to avoid going out of business if you're actually facing the possibility of going out of business. This is why some companies you would find when it looks like they're going out of business, they file for bankruptcy, Chapter 11 in the US and so on, to keep their creditors at bay so that they could try and restructure and see if they could make some money, come up with some creative way to regenerate the business, to earn the income they need to clear off the bills, clear off their debts, and get back into normal operations. This is what Khaled Hassan Ali was telling you in 2014. But you have David Lee and Kamala and all the rest of them want to tell you, oh, Petrotrin was making so much money, and it's only when the PNM come in 2015 and the company thing, and it was contributing so much money, so much revenue to the coffers of Trinidad and Tobago, and how much foreign exchange it was providing. But here it is, George Young is telling us that they were taking loans to buy crude for the refinery. How do you pay for that crude? In TT dollars? In bolivars? Rupees? I don't know. It's not US dollars that you have to use to buy the oil. When you take loans to purchase the oil, it's US dollars you have to take. How are you paying back this loan? What you're paying it back in EC currency? In euros, pounds, or US dollars? You're incurring interest in what currency? Again, I ask the question. I want to say, let me not call the people country name because next thing they will take offense to that. Right? In Jamaican dollars? No offense to the Jamaicans. It's US. So when they want to come and boast and tell you how much money, how much US Petrotrin was contributing to the country's foreign reserves, as it come in, it went back out. You have people like Ralph Maraj telling you, well, they shouldn't have shut down the refinery. You know what they should have done? They should have at least maintained the refinery for local production only, domestic production. But Trinidad and Tobago, back then, was producing fuels and selling to the the rest of the Caribbean region, which we still do today, as Stuart Jung would have mentioned in one of the videos. Still do today. We import fuel, but it is not for Trinidad and Tobago only. Some of the markets that we used to, that Petrotrin used to supply, we're still supplying it to them. That is how we make in the US. When we import US for our oil and fuel for our use here. When we go to the pump, when we go to the gas station, we're not paying in US dollars. We're paying TT dollars. It is when you bring it in and then you sell it to the other regional, our regional neighbors who didn't have refineries and who were depending and were purchasing from Petrotrin. That is how. And even so, Jamaica has a refinery. Jamaica has a refinery. Petrojam. How come they're not buying from Jamaica? Why is it that Trinidad and Tobago that is without a refinery, that is importing fuel, we still sell into these other regional neighbors? Why are they not going? So when I hear Anil Roberts do a live and talking about if the refinery was up and running and all the opportunities with Guyana and all, Guyana has made it abundantly clear they were not interested in Trinidad and Tobago's refinery. And if we had any doubts about that, the latest thing with the CPL and all of that, and we continue to make the point. The oil that Guyana is producing now belongs to the energy companies. It does not belong to the government of Guyana. Hence the reason for the first 6 months of this year, ExxonMobil would have recovered some $4 billion US in terms of money that it would have spent to produce oil, bring up oil in Guyana, market it and sell it. And the Guyanese government would have gotten less than $1 billion. I think the figure I saw was about 658 million or 690 something million US is what they would have gotten from the sale of their oil for the first 6 months. And ExxonMobil got over 4 billion US. 4 billion US. So they would have sold 4 billion US worth of oil and they recoup the cost, right, of whatever they spend or what they claim they spend to bring this oil to market. And the Guyanese government is happy to get 690 something million US. Is it any wonder that their foreign reserves continues to drop? With all this oil that they have and all this oil that is being sold, how come their foreign reserves falling? It's supposed to be going up because the government making money and Guyana is making plenty money from the sale of all of this oil? Apparently not. And that $4 billion of oil that has been sold, remember, that's that gone, eh? That gone. Eh? That was taken out of the ground. It was there for how long? And that gone. Never to come back. So Guyana, whatever money they make on that, that is that. So they have to look now to future oil. And if it is the current arrangements continue, well, you see where they're going with that. But Rowley is the worst thing. And the PNM is the worst thing. And they shut down the refinery. And we're not closing down Petrotrin and all of that. And the men and women who know, who are in the know, all of these things that Stuart Jung has said, and these revelations that he has made, is there anybody outside of the parliament coming to hold a press conference to say Stuart Jung lied? Where is Khalid Hassan Ali? Why hasn't he said something? In the same way that Jawala Rambaran could have come out and jump out himself in 2020 to talk a mile after 5 years of hearing Coleman Wood say that Jawala Rambaran, told him that there was only enough money left to run the country for 3 days. How come he never sued Coleman Wood for that? Coleman Wood is outside. Coleman Wood said that on numerous occasions. He has said it on open platform, not under the cover of parliamentary privilege. So if it is he lied, how come Mr. Rambaran never addressed that matter for 5 years, but only in 2020, when just before the election, the UNC get him to sit down so they could do a video for him to say Coleman Wood lied. And then the reasons that he gave to prove that Coleman Wood lied made absolutely no sense. But you see, they could fool those anyway. So again, I ask the question, where is Lindsay Gillett, who was chairman? Where is he? Why hasn't he come out to say Stuart Jung lied? And all that the Prime Minister and others have been saying over the last 8 years with respect to the management of Petrotrin between 2010 and 2015. All of the main players, the persons who were intimately involved in the management of Petrotrin at that time, why have they not come out and said this is not true? Because basically what has been told to us and what has been said by the government is an indictment on their management of Petrotrin. And if you take issue with misrepresentation you claim is a misrepresentation, and it is sullying your reputation and how you would have managed the company, I would want to think you would want to defend that reputation. Because to the best of my knowledge, these guys still actively looking for work all over the place. And if you're looking for work, you don't want to have the government of the country in which you were running the main oil company, the only oil company, the main oil company, is making these pronouncements, which is an indictment against your leadership and could affect your ability to get work outside. So why aren't you defending yourself? If what is being said is lies, why aren't you coming out? Whereas, again, all of the management folks who in Petrotrin between 2010 to 2015, not one of them have come out to say, you see what Rowley say? That is not true. You see what Stuart Young say? That is not true. You see what Franklin Khan say? That is not true. Not one of them have come out to say that, to defend their management and their stewardship of Petrotrin. To me, that speaks volumes. That speaks volumes. But we ain't focusing on that. You know what? Instead, taking prominence, Gary Aboud decided to file a Freedom of Information request and then come in and misrepresenting. This is the same, you see, I can't take these people seriously. This is the same Gary Aboud, who I think it was last year, went down Diego Martin in front of the interchange where the Chinese have their base there, right? So they fabricated an office building, which from my research, once they complete the job, it's simple to dismantle, right? But if you see it, it looks like a permanent structure. Kudos to the innovation of the Chinese. But he went down there and did a video in front of the compound, making claims that how much billions of dollars the government spent on this thing, and they gave away the land to the Chinese, and look, this building here that the Chinese put up, right? In this clip. And then he claims that the government sold the pitch lake asphalt, that they sold it to the Chinese. But the only evidence and proof that he could put up to support that is a newspaper article from 2013 or thereabout, speaking to where the UNC would have entered into some arrangements to provide asphalt to China for 3 years or something. So if you come in to tell me that the current administration, the PNM, sell the pitch lake to the Chinese, I need to see something that speaks specifically to that. But you pull up an article from 2013 that has nothing to do with the PNM, an article that speaks to something, some arrangement that the UNC People's Partnership had with China, and using that to support your claim that the PNM sold lake asphalt. And you're so bright, right? You're running a big business called Moda Life. But yet said you come in to talk this nonsense, not taking into account that the pitch lake is a heritage site, cannot be sold, right? It is a heritage site. So you can't sell it. It's just like, for example, if you have a building that is deemed by the National Trust to be of heritage value, and that building is listed, you can sell the building, but you cannot, there are limitations on what you could do with respect to that building. So whoever gets it, they cannot change the facade of the building. A lot of things that they cannot do, persons are limited to do that. But with respect to the pitch lake cannot be sold. And even if you were to sell it, how much are you selling it for? How do you put a dollar value on the pitch lake? How? Was a valuation done? Was an assessment done? Where did you, and people repeating this foolishness and wouldn't think, but that ain't making no sense. So that's like saying the government sold President's house, or the government sold the Twin Towers, or they sold the Magnificent Seven. Come on now, man. You all really sit down and think about these things before you come and run your mouth on social media and spread that propaganda. I mean, when I read this, I'll be like, nah, boy, am I in the Twilight Zone? You mean to tell me to really have people in this country who's so stupid, who's so dotish? But they will call that program, yeah, you're doing a real good job, boy. Keep it up. Keep up the very good work, okay? We need men like you out there to come and tell the truth. Yeah, boy. Well done. Well done. You come like Jesus Christ. Come like Jesus Christ. Yeah. Bolt of lightning should have surely talking that stupidness, not foolishness. I don't know. I really don't know. It's like, this government really have it to do, They really have it to do. Every bloody turn. Every turn. You're listening to these people. It's amazing. But you see, they know they have people out there who will not take the time to sit down and listen to the budget. They would not have listened to Colin Burt last week. They're not going to listen to the debate that is taking place now to hear how the money is going to be spent, to hear the individual ministers articulate, this is what we're going to do. So yes, the Minister of Finance could not have given you all of the details, because then the budget would have taken probably a whole 24 hours and more. So we are here now to give you the breakdown. This is how the money is going to be spent in the Ministry of Education. This is how it is going to be spent in the Ministry of Youth Development, Ministry of National Security. This is what we're doing. This is what we have done. This is what we intend to do. But all they will complain, they're spending 50 billion. Where that money went? You have the Standing Finance Committee that is going to come up after this part of the debate is complete, when all members of the lower house who wish to speak have made a contribution, right? We go to the Standing Finance Committee, where it is that the opposition will interrogate each ministry, subhead by subhead, line by line. So if there's anything in there they want clarification on, to say, well, okay, last year, let's say, well, allocate 10 million for this project, but I see you come back again this year with 10 billion. 10 million, could you tell us why the project wasn't executed last year? And the minister will explain, or the technocrats in the ministry will explain, well, this is what happened, that is what happened. Plenty of them on the opposition bench, when they in the contribution, they're going through and they want to know, I'm seeing here this line item and we want an explanation. But you know, you will be getting the opportunity to do so in the Standing Finance Committee. Why is it that you're bringing it in this stage of the debate when you will have a whole opportunity to interrogate it, to ask question, to ask follow-up question, and follow-up question upon follow-up question until you get the answer that you want, or you are told, we will submit the answer to you in writing. That is how it goes every single year. But you're coming in this stage of the debate now to raise issues because you're looking for couture and bacchanal. Not one of them will talk about the positive measures. What the government are doing nothing for the young people, but the Ministry of Youth Development, program after program. People are paying people to come and learn, paying you to come and learn to become a business owner, right? Make it worth your while. Not one of them will talk about that. Or if they do mention it, it is in critical tones, like Anita Haynes yesterday. I don't know if it is that she and Vandana Mohit go in competition to see who could gain the most weight by the end of the year. No disrespect to them, but I mean, come on, ladies, you all have let go of yourselves. Married life don't mean that you're anyway. Let me don't go there. Let me leave that there. Just to make that point. So I think the debate is still going on. I looked at a few of them yesterday. I understand Shamfa Kojo, as usual, was in ripping form. Unfortunately, I didn't get to see her, so I'll probably go on the Parliament channel on YouTube and run it back and listen to her contribution. But I just thought that I would make mention of that as I saw it, and it came across the feed. I just wanted to interject a little bit with respect to that. Right, so it is now 7:39 thereabouts. I could just take calls up to 8 o'clock because I said I have to leave. I have to go service my vehicle, and yeah, I don't play with it. I can't wait another 6 months. Because in that case, the candle will end up costing more than the funeral. So let me just switch this here. We say morning to Angie. I didn't see Angie come on. Morning to Mother Tunapuna as well. Mr. Chance, morning. Mr. Yates, morning to you. All right. 7701763. We'll have another. I'll have my usual live tomorrow morning, and we will have further discussions. So, what is this? I see the video, that viral video that was going on with the young girl who had the altercation with her teacher, and there was so the mother has responded. There are mixed views to the mother's response. There are those who are saying, we can commiserate with her, what she's going through. There are others who've been very critical. So we can play that. We'll talk about that too. There was another video I saw with an individual who got a ticket. I think it was yesterday, whenever. And he sought to do a live, and he's lamenting the fact that he got this ticket. He says, well, I got a ticket, no problem, I was wrong. But he felt that the police could have been doing other things. His mother was murdered in 1992, and to date, the killer has not been found. And so he's calling anybody who desires to blow up a government building. He's willing to do it. So you could give him a call. He, in fact, would have given out his number, and he's willing to die in the bombing. And what was of concern to me is when I read the comments is the amount of people who are supporting him in this who saying, yeah, feeling your pain there, boy, because he's saying, he gave up on life, he fed up, he's been through everything. And this is clearly somebody who needs help, psychological help, and perhaps other types of help, because you could see on his face, his countenance speaks to somebody who's really been through the rigors. And but when you reach the point that you could do a live to invite persons who may be desirous of blowing up a government building, he's indicating you just give him a call and he's willing to do it and die in the process. Take other lives with him, because if you blow up the government building where there are persons in it, you don't have respect for these persons' lives, right? This is something that the police definitely needs to look into. Not necessarily with a view for incarceration, but this man clearly needs some kind of mental help. Yeah? 7701763. Hattie Allen says, Dominic, that was no explanation by that. She did not even apologize for her daughter's behavior. Yes. So we'll discuss that tomorrow out there. Yes, I know. Because I saw some people are saying, I heard it, and there's a lot of things inside there that for me was very disconcerting. A lot of things inside there, I'll play it for you all tomorrow for those who haven't heard it. Ruth says, no, leave Dr. Ollie out of that. They're too damn ungrateful. I saw the court case between Dr. Ollie and Rudal Munilal came up for hearing, and the judge indicated that he will deliver his ruling next year. So Munilal suing Dr. Ollie for something that Dr. Ollie would have said some time ago. This is just one in the saga of many lawsuits. Remember, I don't know. Look how quickly they dispense with this lawsuit with Munilal and Dr. Rowley. What is happening with the lawsuit with Anand Ramlogan and Dr. Rowley, which resulted in Anand Ramlogan now having a court case for witness tampering? How long now? Anand Ramlogan has been out of office 9 years, and as while he was an Attorney General, he brought that lawsuit. So about 10 years. 10 years now. What really going on with that? Anybody can tell me what's going on with that matter? Because this lawsuit that Munilal brought against Dr. Rowley, that issue that came up after this matter with Ramlogan. I really don't understand how the justice system works in this country. Really don't know. I know Coleman Butt had sued Kamala Prasad-Bissessa for making certain allegations with respect to a law that he brought for tax exemptions for persons constructing multiple family homes. But it was a tax exemption that you had to apply for, and he would have indicated he made no such application and all of that. But there are a number of lawsuits all over the place, and for some reason, this one. Anyway. Think for yourself says that person is not poor. He has a car to drive, a phone to talk on, and he's eating. I think that is the gentleman who says he has been through it and is ready to take the job to blow up a government building. So true. Here's a phone to talk on. Yes. The man desperately needs help. This is who's saying this? Is it Kathian? Replying to Angela, yes. I think it's unfair and outrageous that one traffic ticket would cost $1,000. So unfair. Yeah, I think he got the ticket because he didn't have his vehicle inspected. Kathian says he's looking for attention and he gets it. Angela said the man needs help and he has mental problems and should be getting treatment. I agree with you. With all due respect, Joyda is saying, I am not a driver, but beside bad road, people drive defective vehicles, which can cause loss of life, and he deserves a ticket. Yes, that's the other side of the argument, and it seems in Trinidad, the only time those of us who are required to inspect our vehicles, the only time we go and do it is when the ministry announces a crackdown. All of a sudden, long lines outside the inspection stations around the country, or the licensing office, and be complaining. Yeah, look at the long line here, and the government. But you all had whole year. You could go today. You could have gone yesterday. There's no crackdown taking place right now. So why didn't go? $300. There are inspection stations all over the country, private inspection stations. All you have to do is to take some time. It ain't taking you long. Not even about 20 minutes. Find one, drive in, let them inspect your vehicle, pay your money, you get your sticker, you get your documents, right? Even if they don't have stickers, you have your documents. So if they pull you over and they tell you, well, okay, we didn't see no inspection sticker, and based on the age of this car, you have your documents right now, proceed. But we're not interested in that. Because we find $300 is too much. Yeah, I ain't gonna spend no $300, and yeah, so I good for now. It's 300 versus 1,000. There is no demand now, no long lines. But if in the morning the Ministry of Works and Transport announces crackdown all over the country, long lines and be griping because you have to 3 o'clock and 2 o'clock in the morning, you line up by licensing to get your vehicle inspected. And then you want to cost licensing because you find it taking too long, and there's a whole day work you lost because you had to come here. But that could be avoided. You could go today. You could go tomorrow. You could have gone last week. No, but that is typical Trinidadians. Typical Trinidad. Wait till the last minute when we're under pressure and then cost the government because for our delinquency. And it is saying in the USA, it's every year. Yeah, every year, every 2 years, 2 years in Trinidad. Melka is saying, I wonder how many of us Trinbagonians listen to Mr. Manning debate the budget on finance. Do we really know how much money is the government offer the underprivileged of this country? And all these are government policies. Could the UNC clearly state that whatever they give policy, what about the baby grant, is that government policy or bribing people to make them dependent on the state? Right. Because I want to touch on that tomorrow too, because I saw Michael Anizet, other members of the trade union movement, crying down the minimum wage increase by $3, right? And saying, well, that working out about a $500 a month, and that can't do nothing, and this government too wicked. The increase in minimum wage, let's say $500 a month. I say if we work it out to that, a 5-week month, whatever, right? You get $500 more. They're telling you, union leaders telling you that ain't good. That ain't good. Right? But you know what good? That $500 ain't good. But $500 a month to make child baby grant, yes, that good. That good. $500 a month on food card, that good. You see that $500, that good. But the $500 more that you're getting on your pay, so that if it is you have to go for a loan depending on where you're working and so on, you could, because that's an additional $6,000. You're making about that $6,240 per year, more than you're making. For some people, that is about 3 or 4 months salary, depending on CPF, URP, and so on. We're focusing on that. I said that $500 ain't good. Rowley too wicked. It should have been $25 and $30. But then when they put it to $25 and $30 now, you have, and the cost of living goes up because the business owners, the private sector, who are responsible for retail and bringing in everything that we need to eat and drink and wear and all of these things, telling you, well, overhead costs gone up because the government increased the cost of our overhead expenses with respect to salaries. So we now have to pay higher salaries, one. And two, we now have to pay more money in terms of NIS because these persons, this increase has now put them in a higher earnings class. Now remember, the employer pays 2/3 and you pay 1/3. So the employer now has to find this additional money. This is why a lot of employers are not remitting their funds to the National Insurance Board. It's not so much that when people complain, and as they do, that the employers withdrawing, taking out money from the pay for NIS, but they're not remitting it to the National Insurance Board. It is because the employers cannot afford to pay their 2/3 for every employee. So at the highest earning scale, if it is that you paying $500 and something a month in NIS, your employer has to find over $1,000 to add to your $500 to pay to NIB. For you, and that is the challenge that some businesses are facing. I'm not making any excuses for them, but I'm just telling you that is what the issue is. It's not that in cases that they deliberately withhold any money for their own use. It is because if you can't remit the employee portion without remitting the employer portion. I used to work in the bank. Again, I know the things that used to amaze me. You all see some of these business owners driving big fancy car and so on, and telling yourself, yeah, they pocket deep, but is their business surviving on overdraft? You know? How many times they come into the bank and the employees come on payday with checks to cash, and when you pull up the account, it's an overdraft. And the overdraft, so you had to pick up the phone and call the centralized securities unit to get permission to cash this check, right? And then centralized telling you or whoever, can't remember the name, I think it was centralized, whoever we used to call. They now tell you, hold on, they go and call the owner of the business to find out, well, first thing they'll ask you, is there any uncleared effects? They have any checks on hold or anything like that? No, nothing, all right. All right, we call you back just now. So they had to call the owner of the business to find out, well, okay, do you have any money coming in or whatever, whatnot, make whatever arrangement. And then they call you back and tell you, okay, to pay or not to pay. So meanwhile, all the employees sit down in the lobby at the bank waiting. Because they line up, they have checks, but they have no money in the account to pay them. But the boss man driving Mercedes and Audi and all these kind of things. You know many senior public officials, and not just any senior, but business owners we have in this country too. And again, never judge a book by its cover, you know. Because you see in these people, you're thinking, yeah, well, they're holding big high position and they pocket deep. They're living on the credit card. When they come every month, they only pay the minimum payments on the credit card. And I used to be looking at that and saying, but wait now. You pull up outside the bank in a Benz and you only pay the minimum payments on your credit card. What are they going on with you? Some of these people are living beyond their means. They want to create a facade. They want to create this image that they're doing so well and all of this kind of thing and overstretching themselves. For what? For what? So people watch and say, he's doing so well and she's doing so well. Really? So you're driving a $700,000 and $800,000 car. The cost of your car is the cost of a HDC house. That making sense to you? Really? I mean, I can't wrap my mind around spending $800,000, $900,000 for a vehicle that in the space of about 3 to 4 years, the value of that will drop significantly. But that money gone. All to create an image. To benefit who? So there's some people watching and saying, yeah, but how that helping you when your mortgage in arrears? How that helping you when you are accruing all of this interest on your credit card? It's not helping you. So when you want to live to impress people, no problem. But understand that there are consequences. So I just thought I would put that out there. Yeah. The things that I used to see in the bank. Even on the flip side, people collecting old age pension or senior citizens grant. But when you look at the bank balance, it's hefty. Hundreds of thousands of dollars on the bank and on the bank account. And I ask myself, well, how are you getting pension? How are you getting government pension? Because to the best of my knowledge, it's means tested. So why is the government giving you social welfare? Is giving you a check for $3,000 or whatever a month, and you have hundreds of thousands of dollars sitting down in your account. You don't need that money. NIS you're entitled to because you made your contributions. So they can't take that from you. You're entitled to that. You earn that. But with the senior citizens grant, it is means tested, and it is for persons who are on the lower rung of the economic ladder, who need that financial support for their retirement years. But you have people, as I said, multiple income streams coming. You see they come in every 6 months to deposit their dividend check. Dividend check from Republic Bank, dividend check from Whitco, dividend check from Angostura. All of these checks come in and they have investments all over the place. Ton of money in the bank account. I ask, how you qualify for that? How? But on another side, you have persons who have applied and are being told you don't qualify because of your household income. You don't qualify because your children have good jobs and their salary could take care of you. Or you are told, well, we see that you have a whole set of plants in your front yard and you could sell plants to make an income, so you don't qualify. I don't understand the system, really. But it is what it is. But we will interrogate that on another day. Right? So it is now 7:54. So if you need to get a call in, you have 6 minutes because I'm leaving at 8 promptly. Denise Bramble is saying is because they always want to show they're better than. That is so true. That's so true. But again, because of my own personal experience in the bank, seeing these things, I am not impressed. I am not. So I don't judge. Yes, I know there are those who could walk the walk, who have plenty money. So you see them driving the Range Rover and the whatnot. Yeah, they pocket very deep. I know that. But there are those as well who also drive in these fancy vehicles and living in these prominent neighborhoods, and they're deep, deep, deep in debt. Deep in debt. Yeah. Yes. Thank you, Joyda. Yes, I'm looking at the time. Let me see what I have here. Shireen is saying security officer will be working for more than the minimum wage, 600 to 900 from January. The first all security officers. Very nice. So let's see what it has here. Jenny is saying the justice system does work faster for me and you. Imagine Duke is a rape and sexual assault charge since he's on rape and sexual assault charges since 2016, and we're not hearing anything. Yes, so true. So true, Jen. Yeah. So some are more equal than others. Joyda is saying, as a former banker, she knows what I'm saying is true. Yes, Joyda, I used to feel sorry for some of those employees when they come in the bank on a Friday evening. They're looking for the little kakada that they work hard for, and only to be told, well, we can't cash your check because, but I can't tell you. We can't tell you. It's because your employer don't have money in the account. So we are telling you, well, we are unable to cash your check. You need to speak with your employer. Yeah, you need to go back and check your employer. So, and then the bank will, well, you need to make some kind of deposit, put something into the account, otherwise we're not going to honor that. So, yeah, that's how it used to be. I used to feel sorry for these guys. You see the stress on their face, they have money. Some of them in my passage to go home because they know today's payday and the last money they borrowed from the neighbor or their cousin or whoever to be able to come to work to get paid. Nothing, salt, and they work hard for the whole week or 2 weeks, the fortnight or whatever it is. Yeah, it happens. It happens. Shireen is saying social welfare is in a mess. I always hear people complain about that office in Tunapuna. The length of time you have to wait, you sit down under this tent in what should be the car park, and the officer who is supposed to be dealing with you, not there. Stress. Joyda is saying most times the owner living nice and not paying their workers. So true. That is also true as well. Gloria is saying the government should look into that, and those are the ones who always have a problem with the government. Yes. Yeah, so all those persons who, this is why you should go and do regular checks on your NIS contributions, because you don't want when you reach 60 and you're expecting your pension and you go to file and so on, and they tell you don't have enough contributions, and you work 30 years, and because once you've worked for 15 consecutive years without a break, 15 years would cover the 750 contributions. So once you work for more than 15 years in an organization that pays NIS, ideally, all employers should be paying, but you're supposed to be inside. But we always hear the complaints. People, when they went and checked, they told them, you need to go and get statements of all the places that you worked, because this is what is what and this is what is what. By then, some of these companies have been wound up. They're no longer in operation. So I have only worked for two companies that would be in my entire work life, the private sector. That would be mainstay. So I'm sure when I reach 60, both of them would still be around. So it shouldn't be an issue for me to get my documents. Yeah, but I need to go and check. It's been a while. Make sure everything is in a gear. Kind of playing that. Yeah? I mean, I'm putting things in place from personal side, but still, I contribute too much money to NIB as I give them a pension. It could probably buy a plane ticket. Anyway, let me see. Jules Gordon is saying, no one is more hated than he who speaks the truth. Plato, keep up the message. Let's see what we have here. Joyda is saying, and the EMBD matter with Munilal. Yes, all of these civil matters that taken forever and a day to be dispensed with. The three persons who were found in the contract mill in EMBD, is EMBD or EFCL, yeah, who were backdating contracts in a room in the ministry. I can't remember which ministry it was. What went on with that case? again, I keep asking, what is going on with Prison Gate, that Prison Gate? Why is this investigation taking so long? You know, all of these bastards who want to file freedom of information requests and everything under the earth. None of them will file a freedom of information request to Ula Christopher to ask her what is the status of the Prison Gate investigation. They're so concerned about what happened in the country and the state of crime and whatnot. But nobody ain't asking about it. Nobody wants to know what is the status of that investigation. I don't know. I mean, I have been telling you all, I filed a freedom of information request since June the 13th on the Cabinet Secretariat to get some information with respect to recusals from ministerial recusals, cabinet recusals between 2010 to 2015. Since June, we are in October. Can't get it yet. So I called yesterday and I'm told, yes, your request is being actively engaged. However, we have to consult with the our legal department to find out if we can release the information. Now I am confused. I'm really confused because this is information that should be in the public domain. Because we know the UNC has been telling us ad nauseum about the number of recusals that has taken place under this administration. Who are the ministers that requested recusals? In fact, one of the newspapers, I think it was The Guardian, did a whole story on Stuart Chung and Faris Al-Rawi and the Prime Minister and others who would have gotten recusals, and were able to tell you detail what these recusals were for. Asking for information that is on record and that is in the public domain for current sitting government ministers. I'm not asking for anything that has to do with national security. Precedent has been set. The information can be given. But as I said, maybe I might be lucky and they might give it to me as a Christmas present. Let me just take this one call before I jump out. Hello, good morning.
Very good morning to you, Dominic.
Good morning.
You hear me clearly?
Loud and clear.
I'm getting a little distorted, so I'm just going to go ahead.
Yeah. We're hearing you. Go ahead, caller.
Right, okay. About the national insurance, what you're saying there is so true. I worked with one company for 19 years. Consecutively. I didn't stop. And when I applied for my pension, they told me they had no record that they had it under some other company's name. It was so good that I had a letter where my company put up. They had given us our severance letter with all that you're entitled to.
Right.
And it's a good thing I didn't throw it out away. That was 15 years after the fact. And so I was able to take it into national insurance and give them that.
Wow.
So that's a good tip. If I didn't have that, I had no problem. In a matter of 3 months, I got my pension. But it's important that you keep all your documents with you.
Yes.
You would think 19 years, Dominic. I remember at the beginning we were paying stamps and put it on a card, right? And after 19 years, they didn't have that record. They had been looking at somewhere else.
Wow.
So, good advice. Have a great day.
Thank you. You too. Yes, Jennifer Angela is asking, saying you are a young man, you're looking at the pension already. Yes, I am just making sure, Angela. I mean, as I said, I don't plan to wait until I'm 60 and 65 to retire because I don't know what, again, based on my mother's experience, I don't know what ailment might befall me if the Lord affords me such a long life. Yeah, I don't plan to wait until 60 and then wake up one morning and say, what are we going to do today? So after the first month and thing, what am I to do? This is the rest of my life. I don't know if I'm going to live another 20 years, 30 years. I'm just going to sit down and, So that's why I say you need to plan from early. Make sure you have enough money when you reach whatever is your chosen retirement age, that you could do all of the things while you still have health and you're still strong enough to do it. Yeah, imagine you going on a trip to the UK or you're going to Switzerland or something and you're walking around with a cane. You can't really enjoy it. So I intend to do all of these things while I still have some youth in me. So at the end of the day, if when I reach what most people consider to be the retirement, yeah. So if life takes away ability to be mobile.
Hello.
Jenny, I go.
Hi, morning.
Morning. Yeah.
Okay, hi, morning, Dominic. I want to all those who locked in and tuned in. Dominic, I want to say that, and it's this, what you speak about in pension is so important. I want to tell you something.
you spoke about Roger and them union leaders and them, and I always say, the same bourgeoisie class that they like to revere and scorn upon, they live in just like them. And we the members eating crumbs while them living off with money. The same way they just want to say the politicians and them, how we eating crumbs while they live the big life. Roger, all of them living the life of the same politician and the members eating crumbs. Daily rated officers, I don't normally get involved in daily rated officers' business, but because I had uncles who were daily rated officer, my father was a daily rated officer, my husband was a daily rated officer, I understand. In speaking to persons who would know better than me, a pension plan was being set up for daily rated officer. A company from Canada came down and did all the work. They compiled all the information on all the daily rated officers in the different ministries, all that, and just sent a sign off on. Lambert never signed off on that pension plan, but Lambert was a UNC senator. He was right there. He never signed off on it. And today, daily rated officer had to wait till they're 65 years old for all his pension, like they never contributed to nothing in this country. And the daily rated officer work in a position where they do all the trade work in this country. They are the plumbers, the electrician, the masons, the carpenter, yeah? They work, the painters, they in hospital, they in government building, working alongside the public officers. And today, Lambert never signed off so they could get a pension at 60. Them men had to work till 60, retire. All they just get is the NIS and wait till they're 65 to get old age pension. And daily rated officers, I want to tell all, especially men and them, put aside something for God's sake. Too much only when only reach 60 and only leave the service, only just go and do security and bulk and all to make all to put all the thing in order. All they don't have a pension, but only retired 60 and all the gratuity will be bigger than we own. Or they have nothing after that. They get more than $300,000 every month until for NIS until 5 years later or 4 years later. Or let's get an old age pension. All his tradesmen don't build house for people and they only build for yourself. All they just want to build house for everybody, do masonry work for everybody. And when they look all you living, all you build all your own. Build all your own and all your building people own. I see that happen to plenty daily pays Dominic. There's carpenter, they're going all about and building people cupboard, building this, building that, and they're not doing it for themselves. And then when they get older and get sick, they can't do nothing. All these masons build all the damn house, all they sell brick by brick, all they go get all their friends to come and help. That's how they just do it. All they just go and build everybody else's house and all they building all their own. And then when all they finish now, the gratuity, all they get it finished, and then all they just have $3,000 living on. Or sometimes all they build people house and put things in order, they put all out. I know right now that happening. Build house, everything, and they put the man out. If you see how that man looking, because all he have is the NIS now. Time nothing because he money, eat out, to drink out, to this, that. Daily rated officers all dear to my heart. Because I have a lot of family members of daily rated officers. And what I talking is why I see, I have an uncle that happened to him, was a mason. He built house for everybody. And my uncle live in a little board house. Never built for himself. I see it happen. And it is real. So I'm talking to all you this morning. Lambert and them taking all their money, fooling all you, taking things to court, all that, and won't settle for all their money to get all the little money, but fooling all that. That is my opinion I give you now. And when was the sign for you to be able to get a pension at 60 with all the NIS, he is sign off on it. They challenge me with that. Let them challenge me with that. I saw the wicked. All of them living like the bourgeoisie, I say, living nice, eating. One of the most humble, one of the most humble union leader I had. Somebody else tell me, Mr. Joseph Remy. Never drive no big fancy car, that he lived normal and simple. Another person was Miss Jennifer Baptiste Primer. When she leave the Prado there and she go right back and she would let her house and live in she life comfortable. But the rest of them, ask them when they live in palatial palaces, gated community, driving BMW, Mercedes-Benz, Range Rover and all them kind of thing, and they want to come to talk to people. I want to tell you as I'm going quick, you see the public officers who in Ministry of Rural Development and Local Government, when the robotists come by early today for 1 o'clock, recheck him because nobody voted for him, no membership voted for him, so I don't know membership meeting he having. Recheck him and ask him how much he working for, ask him how much is the lunch bill, ask him who buy the Prado, ask him why he was a consultant for PSS in 2014, dealing with negotiation. Ask him how he never settled nothing. Ask him how much money when he retired from WASA that he getting right now. Ask him what is his pension right now. Ask him them questions. If he can answer, recheck him. I will even go far to say, tell him, go from here, because they never voted for you. Have a blessed moment, Dominic.
Thank you, Jen. Yes, folks, so as I said, I have to jump out. Yeah, I don't want to reach late, but let me just on the chat on Facebook, Kurt Shaw was asking, one makes more than 750 contributions, does that make a difference? Yes, Kurt, but it depends. The NIB has 13 earnings classes, right? So the more income you earn, the higher your income is, the higher the contribution you would make, your NIS contribution. So if it is that you are in the higher earnings classes, then your contribution plus that of your employer it entitles you to what are called increments. So for every 25 contributions you make in excess of the 750, it entitles you to 1 increment, which is based on the earnings class that you are in. So that when it is you make more than 750, I've heard people say they want a refund. I paid my 750, I want a refund. No, you don't want a refund. One, because you're not only paying NIS for pension, as I always say, you're paying NIS for the 23 benefits that it offers. So you are required, you meet the requirement for the pension, yes, the 750, but you still have to continue to pay for the other benefits that you could access if your circumstance requires it. So every 25 contributions you make in excess of 750, it entitles you to 1 increment. Again, it is tied to the earnings class that you would have been contributing in. And I know persons who are receiving NIS pensions as high as $4,500 a month. But so $3,000 is the minimum, but you have persons who are getting a lot more than $3,000, depending on how much they contributed. And that is based on the total that a number of years you would have worked, the earnings class you contributed to. What they look at is the total value of your fund value when you reach 60. If you had put that same amount of money into a private pension plan in an insurance company, it would have been able to buy you. They would say, well, okay, if the person had 600,000 in contributions, employee in NIB, if they had put that in Guardian Life or if they had put that in Sagico or Maritime, that 600,000 would have given them a pension of 4,500. So we can't give them less than what they would have gotten in the private sector, right? So yes, additional contributions will assist you. But again, if it is that you've been working in the lowest earnings class for most of your contribution years, even though you have more than 750 contributions, you would not be entitled to increments because the total value of your fund at 60 would not have been able to give you a pension in excess of $3,000 in the private sector. But I will speak to that more on another occasion, because it is something that I know people interested in. So yes. So Marlene is saying they told her that she would get an increment, but she never got any. So certainly that's something that you need to check on, Marlene. I know the NIB doesn't really promote it, because if everybody who is entitled to increments were to get it, it would put further strain on the fund. So that is definitely something the minister also needs to check on. Persons who are entitled to increments should be getting it. Yeah, and as Marlene is saying, they told her she would get it and she never got it. So yeah, you just have to keep them in check. Yes. If you don't press it, well, they just give you the 3,000 and call that judge. But there are persons who have pressed the issue and have gotten their increments and are now enjoying their pension. So folks, thank you so much for joining me this morning. We will chat again tomorrow morning, God's willing. And so we will, so again, back to back. All right, so the issues that I couldn't touch on today, we will discuss tomorrow. So have a productive day and we will chat again tomorrow. God's Pay Life. I'm out.